Now, it's not even just you that's doing it. Your brother is involved in this also. He does upholstery and stuff. We got a couple samples of some seats of his right here. Actually, we got 3 of them. How did he get into, leatherwork and upholstery? Obviously, it probably stemmed from your dad's influence on doing the hot rods. But how did he decided that you were going this way and he went that way, and they both, obviously fit in quite well with each other? Was that planned out, or just work out?
It just kind of worked out that way. We both built a couple vehicles when we were growing up, and he does a lot of welding and does some metal fabrication and fiberglass, and we built some mini trucks, when we were younger, and now it's more into the hot rods. And we were looking at a couple things, and he actually found a school out in Rapid City, South Dakota. That it's called the Hot Rod Institute, where he went there, and they gear everything towards hot rod building, from motor all the way to finished product.
Right.
And he went there for a upholstery program, and now he's actually doing quite a bit of that.
Are these Bass Metalcraft seat pans?
They are.
Yeah.
You gotta support your locals.
That's very, very true. That's one thing. It was real cool to see you all the way up at the, I guess just realistically it's not that far, but it's probably close to not quite an hour and a half up to the Scooter Crash show. Of course, put on by Chad Pederson of Pederson Kustoms. You remember him from a future episode, past episode, and of course Kevin, we did an episode on Bass Metalcraft. Interesting thing is, they are both Limp Nicky lot members, and it's weird that in Minnesota, I think it's kind of weird, we've got such a good scene here. We've actually got, I think it's 4 Limp Nicky lot members, and Jeremy is the 3rd one that we've featured. How's that going? It seems like a cool group of guys. It really makes sense that what they want to, what I guess their goals of the lot is, and what's their, you want to explain a little bit of their motivation behind it? It's kind of what we've been talking about, getting the kids into it, right? Yeah,
for the most part it's a group of small builders, that do fabrication, they do paint, they do, they build parts, whatever,
Right.
Any part of building a motorcycle, and it's all based on, the grassroots, the small guy. It's not, big time production
it's
stuff.
Not crap kind of orange county shoppers.
Right.
Yeah, it's and you guys can feed off one another, because Kevin obviously builds stuff, Chad builds stuff, but they don't paint. You paint. Your brother does upholstery work, but you don't necessarily stamp out the, it's such a great way for you guys to get the seat pans, and it's kind of in a small way, it's kind of like it used to be 100 years ago, as a community that you work with each other, not against each other.
Correct. Yeah, everybody's got their different things, Chad's got different machines to utilize, and Teach has different stuff, so you kind of feed off each other, and hey, I want this part made, so you call up Chad and he'll mill out something for you, or Teach will cut something on the plasma table, whatever. Everybody's got their thing, and when it comes together, it's a little bit of everybody's work, and it all works together.
I'm guessing that when you started this, you had no idea you'd be involved in something as good as that.
No,
that's pretty cool, and it's a good system that they're trying to set up, and their goals are realistic for one, and they're it's a nice direction that they're trying to go with passing it on and stuff.
Yeah, I never imagined I would end up here,
Right.
When I started pinstriping, it was just something to do at late nights in the basement, have a beer, and sit up and.
Now, the pinstriping, how did you have any in all your schooling and stuff? I'm guessing that's not something that they really teach much. That's something you need to figure out for yourself.
Yep, I was pretty much self-taught on that.
Okay.
I messed with it and absolutely hated it when I first started because it drove me nuts that I couldn't conquer, because everything else in art is kind of, come fairly easy to me.
Okay.
And then you got this, 2-inch brush that was kicking my ass.
Right.
So actually I went out and I did a short class with Doug Dorr and Greg Vaughn and Gary Jensen, who are all pretty well-known pinstripers and artists, and it was just a crash course, and they kind of redirected my thoughts, and now here I am.
It's something that, obviously it's amazing to look at, and you go, wow, I can't, that's because it's all freehand, but it's just, it's wild to watch. How much, it's not, you just go out and you just buy a brush. Obviously there's certain, brushes, I suppose, that work better and this, that. How long did it take you to figure out, what works and what doesn't?
Well, there's a couple different styles of brushes. It all depends what you want to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
There's striping brushes, there's scrolling brushes, there's lettering brushes, there's all sorts of different stuff. So it depends on what you want to do with it. And then beyond that, like just in the striping brushes, there's a couple different styles, sizes.
Okay.
So you kind of got to figure out what works for you.
Right.
Ed Roth actually said it best. He said, when you see a brush, buy it, use it, see if it works for you. And so beyond that, I've got piles of brushes that, every different style I've come across. And primarily for pinstriping, there's only one brush I use, even though I have probably, 50 different brushes.
Right, okay.
But
how many guys it almost seems like it's somewhat of a dying art for a while. We're starting to see some more guys pop up doing it, but it takes a long time to get really good at it. How long have you been doing, obviously, the painting and stuff you've been doing for a while, how much of that time have you been actually pinstriping?
Oh, pinstriping's probably been the longest. I started out airbrushing, but for the most part I do more of this now, the pinstriping, and that's been about 10 years that I've been doing that.
Okay.
And it was probably 2 to 3 years of doing it just in my basement and messing around on my own stuff before I ever touched anybody else's vehicle or went to a show. Mm-hmm. And the shows I've been doing for 6 or 7 years now.
It's kind of surprising when you don't know anything about something and you go to watch it. Where'd the magazine trick come from? Do you know what I'm talking about? I noticed you have the clipboard there, and you do your paint on a magazine. I suppose because it's glossy paper, so it doesn't soak into the paper as fast, and you just tear it off and go on to the next sheet.
Yep.
Is that one of the things? Did somebody tell you about that? Or did you figure? I don't think I would have figured that out.
Just an easy palette.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, and they're readily available. How many magazines do you throw away? So instead of throwing away, I got a stockpile and No, it's pretty wild to watch. Like I said, I think I got some good footage of you at the scooter trash show. You're doing some bikes that people brought in, and but then you also did the trophies, which turned out so cool. But when I left, you were working on a bagger that had the biggest rear fender I think I've ever seen. And I didn't get to stick around to see how it turned out. Did it turn out good? Yeah, he was super stoked about it.
Good. Yeah, it looked like it was probably going to be pretty wild.
Yeah.
So now, your shop, Relic Kustoms, does, painting. But now you don't do like a lot of the body work, you just do the paint. If somebody comes in and is like, hey, I want this car done, and the body work isn't quite where it needs to be yet, you got friends and stuff in the Austin area that run body shops and stuff, so you got people that can take care of it.
I can do pretty much whatever, but I prefer to stick towards the paint end of things.
Right.
Most of my business now is motorcycles.
Okay.
For full paint jobs anyway.
Right.
And that's stuff comes in. That's pretty simple.
Right. It's
But,
small. You don't
yeah.
need to. I mean, a car obviously takes up
Yeah.
a lot of space, and when you start doing body work on it, now you got to have even more space in case you
Yeah.
got to pull off panels or whatever, and,
Yeah.
and do work to them. So painting, pinstriping. Your brother does the leather work, and then you also do some screen printing, which you got a machine in here for that. That takes up almost half a garage stall. Tell us a little about that. You do it for obviously you probably print your own shirts that are available, and then for other people as well.
Yeah, I print all my own stuff. I do all my own design work. Start to finish on that aspect. But I do print shirts, posters, all that stuff for some other shops in the area, Union Speed and Style, Autonomy Tattoo, West End Welding. There's quite a few other friends that I've made along this traveling to shows that I do work for now.
Right. You're obviously a busy guy, but it's all it's all related. You're not stretching yourself too thin into any one area or another. That it's all kind of related.
Yeah,
thing.
It really offsets itself well. Like if I get slow with doing some paint work, I'll have a bunch of print work to do. So
right. How many shows do you go to a year?
Oh,
Because you had a calendar kind of on your homepage, and there was 5 or 6 things on there just from the last month and a half.
There's in a year, I guess it kind of varies, but I would say probably 20 to 40, if not more.
Okay, so almost
And
every other weekend, if not more.
Every weekend.
Sure,
There's something, and it's not just like Minnesota. You think it shows, and that's summertime. Well, I actually start in January at the Grand National Roadster Show in Pomona.
Okay.
And then you got the winter shows like Donnie Smith and World of Wheels and
right.
all that other stuff, and then you're into spring season and traveling around here all over the Midwest.
Right.
I get to Illinois, Sturgis, even do a show over in Germany, the Relic Kustoms Culture
Really?
Show. Yeah.
Wow, you get around.
Yeah.
That's cool. That keeps you busy. I think really busy.
Yeah.
Because actually, I first emailed you about getting down here today. I got a reply back at like midnight saying you're leaving in 3.5 hours to get to the 100-car pileup, and it's like, that's okay. Yeah, you're gonna be up for a couple more hours in or something.
Yeah.
So
It never seems to change. I mean, you ask anybody that does this, it's always a last-minute thrash to get to a show,
Right.
finish something, pack the trailer.
Right.
Something happens that it's. I don't know if it's part of the lifestyle or you just come to accept you don't get to sleep.
Right.
So,
Right. So how many cars you got, or vehicles, cars, motorcycles, whatnot, you got in the waiting to be done now? You got some stuff.
I've got at least a dozen lined up for the winter so far, and that could be anything from simple pinstriping to full paint jobs.
Right.
There's plenty coming through, and now I just started restoring some antique candy machines and vending machines for my in-laws. So
that's cool.
yeah, a little bit of everything.
Right. So what do you got anything that you can give us a demonstration on?
Yeah, we can do something on the trunk of the Hudson.